Hey, Disney fans. Welcome to Teen P97. Today, I will travel to the colorful town of Santa Cecilia, where every house is painted in bright hues and marigolds grow abundantly in its gardens. In this town, music flows like water, but for one family, music is completely forbidden. You see, generations ago, a terrible tragedy struck, and the family's patriarch vowed that no musica would ever be played in their home again. But when a young boy named Miguel sneaks into the town as annual Dia de los Muertos talent show, he unknowingly breaks an ancient curse, gets transported to the land of the dead, and teams up with a charming trickster named Héctor on a quest to find the legendary musician Ernesto Cruz, who just might be his great-great-grandfather. Will Miguel bring music back to his family's heart? Let's find out. It all begins with Miguel, a 12-year-old boy with a passion for music, specifically the music of Ernesto Cruz, who's known as the most celebrated musician in Santa Cecilia. Year after year, Miguel dreamed of winning the town's talent show and using it as his big break to become a famous musician like his idol, Ernesto. He was so passionate about music, in fact, that even though it was forbidden in his house, he built himself a secret music room filled with guitars and maracas. No one in Miguel's family had ever seen or heard a guitar before. You see, his great-great-grandmother, Mama Imelda, had outlawed music in her family after some old skeletons from her past came back to haunt her. Now, years later, she runs the local shoe shop and continues to remind her family of how dangerous music can be. But despite all these warnings, Miguel never gave up on his musical dreams. And when the Day of the Dead arrives, he decides it's now or never. When everyone in town goes to the cemetery, he sneaks out of the house and runs away to the plaza. There he watches the other contestants nervously line up to perform. After each person does their best impersonation of Ernesto Cruz, Miguel is next. Just as he's about to go on stage, his little sister, who's been searching for him, finally finds him and begs him to come back home. But before he can respond, Miguel's abuela grabs him and shoves him onto the stage. Now alone under the spotlight, he closes his eyes and strums a guitar. As soon as the first note rings out, a bright light engulfs him, and suddenly he finds himself in a strange new world. And this world was unlike anything Miguel had ever seen before. The air was thick with the scent of orange blossoms, and the streets were lined with colorful houses made of sugar skulls and marigolds. It was the land of the dead, and while Miguel was excited to be here, he knew he couldn't stay long. If he didn't get back to the land of the living before sunrise, he would fade away forever. But luckily, before he loses consciousness, he stumbles upon a friendly skeleton named Héctor. Together, they set off to find Ernesto Cruz, who just might be Miguel's great-great-grandfather. Maybe if they could return the legendary musician's guitar to his family, the curse would be broken and Miguel could return to the land of the living. Along the way, Miguel and Héctor visit the land of the forgotten, where they meet some wacky characters like a dog with a TV for a head, a three-headed dog, and a jaguar. They also pass by the land of the saps, which is ruled by a giant skull made of candelabras. But just as they're about to escape, Mama Ophelia catches up with them. She wants Miguel to stay in the land of the dead forever. And although he's tempted by the idea of being able to play music without any worries, Miguel's determination to return home grows stronger. After a few more mishaps, Miguel and Héctor finally reach Ernesto Cruz's house, only to realize that he never actually existed. In fact, Héctor was the one who had stolen the musician's identity decades ago. Over the years, Héctor had tried to erase Ernesto from history so that no one would ever know the truth. But now he admits everything to Miguel and asks the young boy for forgiveness. Although at first Miguel is furious with Héctor for lying to him, he realizes that deep down the trickster was just lonely and wanted to feel important again. So the two team up once more and make a plan to get Hector back to the land of the living so he can spend eternity with his family. Now, unfortunately, because Miguel had already been gone for over 24 hours, his family had officially moved on without him. They had even taken down the portrait of Ernesto de la Cruz, which had been hanging in Miguel's music room. To get his family's love back, Miguel needs to convince them that music is not forbidden. And the only way to do that is to remember Mama Imelda's forgotten dream of becoming a singer. You see, when she was young, Mama Imelda had always dreamed of performing music. But after her father passed away and she became the head of the family, she felt that she had no time left for music. However, with Miguel's help, she rediscovers her old music box and remembers her true passion. Not only that, but she even takes the stage in the town's talent show and performs a beautiful song. Meanwhile, Miguel and Hector work together to create an elaborate plan that will get him back to the land of the living. With a few well-placed candles, some marigolds, and a picture of Mama Imelda, they transform Hector into a living, breathing skeleton. Then they rush to the plaza where the talent show is taking place. But just as Hector is about to disappear for good, Mama Imelda stops him and tells him how much she's missed him over the years. The two embrace and then watch as Hector disappears in a shower of sparks. As the sun rises, Miguel wakes up in his bed. At first he thinks it was all just a dream, but then he sees a picture of Hector on his wall and remembers everything. As he looks around, he realizes that the family portrait now includes Ernesto de la Cruz, and everyone is playing music and dancing. Even his little sister is trying to play a trumpet. Filled with joy, Miguel puts on his shoes and heads downstairs to join them. When he arrives in the kitchen, he finds his family preparing breakfast, and they all welcome him back with open arms. Miguel, as abuela, even gives him a hug and tells him that music isn't forbidden in their house anymore. Instead, they encourage him to follow his dreams. And later on, they attend the town's Day of the Dead celebrations, where Miguel wins first prize in the talent show. The entire town dances and sings, celebrating the return of music to Santa Cecilia. At the end of the day, Miguel knows that none of this would have been possible if he hadn't traveled to the land of the dead and befriended Hector. So he visits the cemetery and leaves a candle on Hector's grave. But as Miguel turns to leave, he hears a familiar voice behind him. It was Hector, and he tells Miguel that their adventure isn't over yet. He invites the young boy to stay in the land of the dead and continue making music together. And even though Miguel misses his family, he accepts Hector's invitation and the two friends run off to finish their song. Meanwhile, back in Santa Cecilia, Mama Imelda and the rest of the family are enjoying their first night of music in years. They dance, sing, and laugh, feeling closer than ever before. And as the night goes on, they begin to hear the sound of drums and trumpets coming from outside. Filled with curiosity, they step outside and look around, but there's no one there. The music must have been a figment of their imagination. But when Mama Imelda walks back inside, she notices something strange. One of the marigolds on her music box is glowing brightly. Could this mean that Miguel is still out there somewhere, making music with his new friend Hector? Now, if you want to keep watching Miguel's adventures, don't forget to click the link on screen. Thanks for watching, Disney fans. And if you want to keep watching, click the link on screen now for more Disney stories.